All right, we are live with our third edition of CMS Demo Days. Thanks to everyone who's made some time during their day to tune in and take a look at the amazing Griddo platform. Today's CMS demo is Griddo. It's a CMS specifically designed to solve content solutions for higher ed. We have Daniel Serrano on the call, who's going to be leading the demo today. And unlike our Beyond the CMS podcast, where there's a whole lot of chit chatting and idea sharing, this is really all about maximizing the time to show people a CMS that is tailored for higher ed. Daniel, welcome. Thanks for making time in your day. You're calling in from Spain. Really appreciate it. And
Thank
over
you.
to you. Really, I'm looking forward to this.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Chris, for having me, and thank you everyone for being here. Well, as you mentioned, we are DXP that is has been envisioned for solving one problem that is kind of a big problem, and that big problem is solving the problems of universities, because when it comes to their digital presence, universities have a huge real estate, if you will. It's usually tons of different websites, most of which are building different technologies. And this produces a problem to universities because you have to manage an ecosystem that is really fragmented. And we were working with a university in order to fix that problem. And when we had a look at what was out there, high strokes of technology, what we found is that we had big CMSs that were intended for a different problem, or solve a different problem than the one we are trying to solve, right? CMSs that were created to, I don't know, like to write a blog or have a small website. Some of them were or try to be easy to use, like WordPress. Others had an intention to be more like enterprise-wide CMSs like Drupal, but we couldn't find something that was appealing to these two different vectors. And we thought, okay, Griddo has a big opportunity here, and it's not just an opportunity from a business perspective, it is a requirement from a usability perspective and what the universities needed. So both from the business requirement, if you want, and the market opportunity, we thought that it was a good thing to start working on that. And the promise here is that universities need to create many different kind of digital assets like websites, or they need to publish events, they need to launch landing pages, and they need to design program pages, prototype articles, you name it. It's like plenty of different things. And they need to do that with full autonomy. And they don't have it right now. Mm-hmm. So one of the problems was, okay, we have to give them that autonomy from other teams, like, for example, from the IT department. Just because their workflows were so different, one of the important things was having the marketing and content department being capable of doing one of the most important things, that is having ownership of the whole process. We call that idea giving the marketing team sort of what you see is what you publish kind of experience, right? It's not just what you're going to get out there, is that being capable of publishing what you're building on. So that was one of the big tenets of what we want to build. And the other one was, okay, a university has a very powerful brand. And from there, we have to make sure on how we're going to allow everyone within the university to build on that brand and make it at scale. So one of the things that we did there was to create a design system built within Griddo. That's one of the main difference of Griddo. And the idea is to build all those tokens that are going to be related to the brand and have this alignment. From these, build plenty of different modules that are going to give you a large capacity to create whatever you need. So sort of build in a Lego mode that is completely branded to your brand. And that was the second important idea. So full autonomy and everything related to brand, which gave plenty of different or broad plenty of different values to the organization, right? So that with these kind of big strokes, let's jump if you want to a demo and see a little bit of what Griddo looks like in reality. So let me jump to here and let's start with it. So this is the login for Griddo. We can have personal login, or for most universities, what they are doing is implementing the single sign-on process here. So it's something that we can do as well. But we've built a whole demo university. That's what you're going to see.
Oh, cool.
Because we know perfectly well the business. We've been working with 12 different universities for quite some time already. We've built our own private university in order to run these demos. So the first thing that you see when you log into Griddo is precisely this idea of the ecosystem. So you can see up here all the different websites you've been working on lately, and below that, all the list of the different websites that we've created for this university. So every client has a different toponymy, if you want, a different structure. And what is important from that point of view is that we have to be capable of fit into that structure and bring that structure to Griddo. And that's something that is perfectly feasible or with all the flexibility that we're going to have. So again, this layer here is the ecosystem layer. Let's say you are going to see the whole ecosystem. Things that you can see here, besides all the different assets and websites that we have here, is that you can manage things that are going to be important for the whole installation, like the global content. So types of content that are going to be used globally across all the different sites. Same thing for categories, for example. Same thing for forms. We have a couple of forms created that are going to be used all over the different, can be used all over the different websites. You can have these in a local way, let's say for each one of the websites, but there are some that you want to share across the whole university, and that's what we're doing in this layer, right? Same things for example, the media gallery, or you can have all the different media that you can have, both in videos, images, and stuff, but you can organize these as if it was a Google Drive, the same kind of idea, both for images and for PDFs and docs and documents like that are really something that the universities use a lot, just because imagine the syllabus or some kind of documents that they need to manage from here. So you can manage them in a centralized way in order to gather all these different websites that you might have. Same thing, for example, for the users, right? You need to manage all the users that are going to get into the CMS, because, well, in certain universities, we're having 150 people working at the same time here. When you have a large ecosystem, you have to make sure that you can give access, or give these users access to different websites with different roles and responsibilities. So this is something that we can do from here, give different permissions, for different sites as well. So for example, this one, it has access as a constructor to all the sites, but we can be as granular as needed with the different roles that we have and with the different users. So you can get from here to manage the whole thing, or get into the website and give these sort of permissions to different users. So in a certain way, we have these layers that, because they are thought for the whole ecosystem, are very related to the governance of the platform, right? Then from here, we can jump to the different websites. So for example, if we get into a website, one of the things that we're going to see is how we are organizing the experience here, right? So the first thing that we can see is, well, we have a list of all the different pages, and we can see if they're live, when we're updated, what kind of languages we have them, if they're okay in SEO or not. But in this case, we can see that we have 141 pages in this website. But we have other information here that is related to that content. So these are filters in a way. So we can filter everything by events or by news that we might have see here. But at the same time, it's not just that they are filters, they are the kind of contents, the content types that we may have in the system and that we may have um, subscribed to. Because we can create content types that are local to a site, or we can put them in the global uh, layer and the ecosystem layer, and we can subscribe to these events. You know? For example, with news is something that's really, really usual to happen. And again, as I mentioned, we can having access to all these other layers. For example, in here we can start working with the navigation of the website, you know? And we can see how we are going to build the different menus that we might have, footer, and from here we can create all the links that we have and create this structure that is going to be seen afterwards when we are seeing how the website is rendering, right? We can create new ones. We can just drag and drop them if that's what we want, and we are going to see the effects right away in the content. So once we see the menus, oh yeah, I haven't saved. I've switched out, but when we're gonna save, and we're gonna see the changes anyway. If we go to the site content, we get into the part that is really, really differentiating from the point of view of what Griddo does. This promise of what you see is what you publish.
Right.
There's in here. So the website builder, one of the things that you can see right away is that you are seeing exactly what you got, right?
Cool.
So this is what you are going to see in the web page right now live. It's the same result. So if you happen to come here and want to change something from this page, for example, well, that means join to the University of the Future, and we would like to say now. Well, we just add these. We see the changes right away. We can see how they will work. There's something really interesting here as well, is that these structures we can change and modify or even remove if that's what we need, just to adapt to what we have. So these modules are really flexible from that point of view. Imagine that we don't want this piece of content here because that's kind of something that we don't need. We would prefer to have button up there. Well, you just remove it. Everything fits together. So that design system that I was mentioning is considering a lot of different parameters and variables, and these are built into different modules. Okay, so we can actually build whatever we want. These modules that have all this flexibility are, as I mentioned before, sort of a Lego, right? So we're creating this Lego, and you can see here as I scroll down, this got highlighted because I'm getting into these modules. This is how they are built. Now, if I get into one of the modules, I just think that the story would be better if we can have, for example, these kind of put the different centers that the university had in the first place, but you have to drag it, and boom, right away, everything changes. So you can arrange these different modules the way you need, and you can add new modules as you require. So this is the second way we are rendering this design system. The first way is what you saw. Everything is parameterized, and we can see the look and feel everywhere in the same way, and we can change things, and everything is going to fit together properly. But the second part is that we can create as many modules within a page as we want. Okay, so these different we have a large collection of modules that are completely tailor-made for every single one of our clients.
And do those modules, is there like a standard library or a kind of a combination of you build your own and you reference pre-existing?
We create everything from scratch for every client because they have extremely different necessities. I would say that there are some that we usually, like the backbone of the module, we can reuse sometimes, but really we start the design from scratch, because one of the things that we believe is really important for universities is that everything feels like the brand of the university, of what they want to communicate, the way they have to translate that, and the information they have in the different systems. So every time we start with a clean slate, I would say, no pun intended. And then from there, we start building all these modules as a function of what the university is going to need, right? Now, there's something that is important, because these modules are also, so for example, I'm going to choose this one. You see, I added another module here, which is about in a Lawrencean way. But if you look at it from the inside, we can start just adding different types of content. So for example, if I want to add an image, something I can do, this is going to happen. Like we were talking about Legos. So let's pick a Lego.
Good idea.
So this is content that we start adding, and we have these placeholders where we can configure plenty of different things. So it depends a little bit on the design of the university. We can have things that are going to change from the point of view, for example, the veil that, I was in no, so I could be moving this as long as I wanted, but you can adapt some of the things and see the results right away in your screen, what is going to happen. So you can adjust these things to the level of quality you want. And this is with the image that is embedded in the module. So if you think about it, it's like we've created these pieces of no content, but of modules that are embedded within other modules, and we can use that recursively, right? So again, one of the images that we've added, we could add a second one, just do that for the sake of, we could add a video as well, but let's add another one, more university-like.
Where does that alt text come from? Is that associated as a metadata with the image from the asset library?
Yeah. So for example, that's a very good point. Your question is right on spot. So let's try to change this image. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna upload a new one, so you can guys see that, I would say, piece of magic. Let me this one, for example. I'm gonna add. Again, I think that's due because it was I know what happened. Right. Okay, so this is uploading. Once it's loaded, it takes a little bit of time because it was just not just uploading the image, but it was reading the image, figuring out what was in this image, and starting to add and fill the different fields.
So helpful. You don't have to go back and do all of that later.
Yeah. So here, we can see we are in a research lab. We can see that this is a scientist in a lab coat with gloves, right? And we can see the different tags that it got.
Really cool. What a time saver.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? Is that AI back in there doing some stuff?
Exactly. That's how we are implementing AI within Griddo. We are just thinking about the different processes that have to take place, and we think about how can we improve this process? How can we get rid of the things that are really difficult or cumbersome or people don't tend to do in order to make the whole system more maintainable in the long term. So everything that has to do with metadata, which is the case here, and not just metadata, but for example, in this case, it has to do as well with accessibility, right? Because you're going to have all the information. So this is one of the examples that, and we'll see more things like this afterwards. Okay. So, again, we have the two images here, and then we can start positioning it and solving things to try to adjust a little bit more the image to what we can. We can just tweak them a little bit more, and how we can crop it and organize it to make it fit. not that you can do full magic, but it start looking better. And the thing is that for the sake of the demo, I'm going to keep going, but you can adjust these things and start adding the text and start the information that you want. So for example, this is innovation in the labs, and you can see how you can add all this information back again. Another thing that is important is that these modules can be configured, right? So we can have different layouts for exactly the same kind of content.
Yeah.
So this module can be rendered in many different ways. So you can fit better the images and tell the story in the way that you want to make it look better. So if we have the two images, it might be like this, but if we get rid of this one, boom, see? So we can arrange things in a way that gives us plenty of different flexibilities. And this is just with one module. Every module has its own properties and possibilities. Because another thing that we can do is not just with the layouts, but imagine the styles. And this is related to the design system that we had. I can just change completely the way this is going to be seen, so I can adjust the vertical rhythm of my page. Is that something that I need, right? So these kind of ways of adapting everything to the vertical rhythm is something that we thought about a lot, just because you are kind of building in this way and consuming the content in this way, right? So that's an example of how we can do different types of work with a page and building that page. Now that we're in the page, let me tell you something else about this. So here we have, besides the content and the content of the page, we can go to the config of this page. So we can choose who's going to be the parent of the page. In this case, it's the home page, so there's no parent, evidently. But you can start organizing the Slack and all the information on how you're going to fit this page in the whole system. You can choose the different themes that we have. So that's one of the important things, is that universities sometimes have different structures in the branding. Like they might have different colors for different schools, for example. So we can create different ways of dealing with the reality of the brand, right? And another thing is like we can work on the SEO and the analytics. If you remember when we were looking the different roles, we have a SEO role, and usually what happens here is that they tend to be from outside of the organization, so we can give different permissions so they can just touch, and interact with different parts. So here we have the whole content, but just because I have added a new module, and well, the content is not really good, so this is probably gonna do some weird and stupid stuff. But the thing is that we can generate all these content with SEO as well. So if I push here, it's going to read the whole page, and with this new content, it's going to try to build another thing. Well, because there's nothing, well, the meta description doesn't change, but you can have the keyword, the canonical, and from here you can manage the whole thing, both from the point of view of SEO, from the point of view of the analytics, and from the point of view of the Open Graph and how you're going to share these. Okay. So everything is actually something you can deal with right into the website builder. You don't have to, have a ticket with IT to require them to add something to the headers of a page or whatever. That you can do for many different things. If you want to add an add-on or something, we can see that as well. So this is one of the basic things. Again, from the point of view of the page, you want to add and remove. And there's another thing that you can do. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to discuss this change because the lorem ipsum wasn't really cool. But one thing that we can do, for example, is that let's say that we were working in a different blog website, like for example, the brand site. And there's something in this page that we really like, and we would like to have it replicated because this module is like really interesting. Well, one of the things that you can do is just you come here, you just choose it, you can copy it, or you can copy several of them. So for example, I'm going to copy this one, and let's see, what is this? Yeah, how you shouldn't be using the logo at the same time. So let's choose this one and the logo themer as well, both of them. So we can copy them and we can go to, yes, color changes to a different site, totally different site. So for example, let's go to the demo site that I was working on.
Cool.
And let's go to the homepage and just paste them. And it's spaced one of them, not all of them. And there's a banner here. And why it hasn't pasted everything? Because as I mentioned before, we have to activate these packages of global content that we want to bring the data from. Okay. So in a certain way, when you create a website, you have to subscribe to feeds of information. And this is a warning that you have to feed that. So let's cancel it, but and not activate the package, not something important. But the thing is that you can see that we can bring information from one side to the other. We can copy and paste different modules, and they will adapt to the content that you have and the style that you have in a particular website. And that's something that is great because it facilitates a lot of the way the teams are working, right? There's another thing that is really cool, and is that you can actually check what happens with this page. So you can review it, and you can see that there are some problems here. So what is going on? Oh, well, yeah, we were building this, and we forgot some data that we needed to mark. And one of the things that is saying is that, hey, there's no H1 in this page. You don't want to publish a page with an H1, right? So you can go, for example, to your hero, and if for whatever reason you think that this one has to be the H1, you can go there and just choose that this one is the H1. We have separated the look of a semantic tag from the semantic tag itself. So everything is going to keep the same style, but has the semantic tag that you need. So you can structure your on-page SEO as you actually need. It can be that one, but it can be, for example, you might make that this one here in this module might be the H1 if that's what you need, right? So that gives a lot of flexibility as well from the point of view of what you're building in here.
Very cool. It's almost like the whole platform is more than, when you think of a platform, it's typically, people think this is something I'm going to use to do something. Your platform is more like a guide or it's helping you do all of this stuff and giving you, it's your guide or concierge for content management.
I really appreciate the comment. I mean, it's something that is flattering, because when I was mentioning that we started thinking really deep into the author experience and what the people that are actually working with this kind of content needed. And the fact is that we spent 2 years working and building Griddo, working alongside a university. So knowing really in depth what was needed, what they needed to do, what was the pains that they usually have, and crafting every solution from that point of view. Sure, we had a lot of previous experience, but collaborating with them was one of the great success stories, I would say. And that's what pays off when you see how you can handle the whole ecosystem. And I think that's one of the main differences that we have and that we can offer compared to other solutions that usually are created, from small to big, not from big to small. And when you think about solving these problems from these different perspectives, well, you end up with different solutions, because as you build software, and that's something you know perfectly well, when you build software, you're getting some legacy of decisions that you're making, and you are being opinionated in some things. So this has an impact later on in the development, right? What else can I show you that might be interesting?
Can you share a little bit about, I've got 2 questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And this is based on our customers' curiosity. One is, Do you have something in your solution that moves content from its source of origin into a component, or are we essentially cutting and pasting content from one place into a component?
Okay. Well, it doesn't work exactly as you mentioned it, because we cannot build a software that magically gets into another system.
Yeah, that's a crux for sure.
Yeah, but what we are doing right now, and that's one of the most important things if we look at this, at the categories, is that we are not having Griddo as the source of truth of all the content,
Okay.
but we are connecting to other systems. So, for example, professors or programs, this information here tends to be in the student information service, right? So we can connect to this, decide what kind of information we need to bring here. We connect to the API, we bring this information live, and what we create is one of these feed of information that I was mentioning, right? So when we have this feed of information here, for example, for formats, we might have part-time and full-time, and that might have a different kind of information related to it. With different codes, so we can start from there, creating the whole organization of the content. So the information architecture has to do with the connection to these systems and the kind of content that you have within Griddo. So we connect with an API, we connect with this, we add to this connection and to this feed of information, we add some modules that are going to use that information and render it in a particular way. And then from there, you can use it. What is the thing is that you have to subscribe to that feed of information with the display,
Gotcha.
what I mentioned before. But of course, I think that the only way to solve that problem that universities have are exactly connecting with all the different sources that they have and making sure that you have a single source of truth for the data.
Right, makes sense.
That's the approach we take.
And what is the technology? I noticed in one of your first slides, you used this word headless websites, and a lot of folks still may not be familiar with that term, but what's the tech stack of the final product when the site's live?
Okay. I would have need a diagram to show you that, but I'm going to try to do it in words. So yeah, the idea of Griddo, if we compare, for example, to other solutions like WordPress or Drupal, they are built in a monolithic way. Okay, so that means that the database, the flow of information, and the kind of front end of the tool are built into the same piece of software and code. What we are doing is that we are separating these things in different pieces. So the actual CMS what you're seeing right now is a separate path, a separate front end from the core of the system. The core of the system is basically the database and an API. This API is going to connect all the information that is in the database. It's going to connect to other sources of information, and it's going to connect to the design system. So what we are seeing right now, this back office, is just a view that we're rendering towards this system. On the other side, we have another view, and the other view is what is published, right? And what we are doing there is that we are rendering the whole website and pushing that to a CDN to distribute. So the good thing is that what you're seeing here, for example, when we were seeing a screen, I'm going to show you that because something that's cool. So for example, this page, let's say that we change something from this page. One of the things that I didn't explain is kind of cool as well. You can check this, how it's going to feel in different resolutions. So you have a sense of, something's going to break or not before publishing anything. But the other thing is that you can make a snapshot of this page. That's what I did when I created this. And then you can share this link.
Cool.
we had a chat here, right? In the comments, maybe I can share now.
All right.
Well, I guess I'll share with you, but
Okay.
if you check in this link, what you're gonna see is exactly the page that I'm seeing, right? So that's one of the things that is really cool, and that separates, because what I mentioned is that we are gonna render these once we push this publishing button. But meanwhile, we're working on this, and I can share this information with you. We can have a chat about how to fix something that is not working really well, or something that I miss or I need. We can see the real thing as is going to be rendered at the end of the day. And once we are happy with it, we can save it, we can publish it, and then it's going to be live.
Okay. Okay. Something I was wondering about, and we hadn't discussed this, and I don't know as much about the ecosystem of a university, but does your system tie into other university management systems like student management or marks, or like all that other infrastructure that a university owns?
Absolutely. And it depends a little bit on what the university has. That's why we've built this flexibility. When I mentioned we have this core with the API as the center of this core, is because we are capable of connecting to many different systems. Again, the student information system, but the professors, it depends on what database they are. The CRM, absolutely important, right? Because you need to get the information from here in the forms and push it to the CRM. We've had to connect in one instance with the LMS as well, because that university had some information that they wanted to. Well, it was the information, the source of truth for that information was in the LMS. So we connected the LMS and we bring this information. Same thing for events. There are some universities that want to keep the events within Griddo because they don't have another platform for that. But others have platforms like Eventbrite. And they want to connect to Eventbrite and bring that information and create the events over there. No problem, we can do that, right? So that's one of the important things. We can fit into the different organizations, not just due to the kind of offering that they have, but the systems that they're using right now. And as they evolve their systems, we can connect to more things and change these connections and keep evolving the system for them.
Okay, so that's kind of the power of this headless or composable architecture.
Exactly.
The components can not only populate with native content, images, videos, and copy, but they can be aggregating data from other sources and augmenting native content. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and even for just to give an example that is really important from that point of view, I think is we make things clearer. We have a university that is using their own data digital asset manager, the DAM, right? So they're using Cloudinary. We can connect to Cloudinary and use that as an input for the media gallery. And there's no problem about that. I mean, every time they put a new image in Cloudinary, we are going to fetch it. We are going to improve all the information and enrich the information of the metadata, and we're going to make it available for the rest of the universities. That's what they need. So that compatibility goes way beyond just what we can connect. We can even substitute some of the functionalities we are offering already.
Very cool. Time goes by quick when we're doing this. We're just a little bit over, but I would just want to make sure that you're able to share everything about this great platform. Maybe last call, anything else that you feel is important to share? If not, we can go.
Well, I was actually, we were talking about different things. I lost a little bit my script, I would say, but I think we touched in most of the important things. There's one thing that is, at least is really important here in Spain, and has to do with different languages that you to offer, and you mentioned about that. So how do we handle these things? So basically, you can have your different sites in the languages that you need. So in this case, we have 3 different languages because we set it up in this way. But we can go for, let me check. I don't think that this one probably gonna be like that. So here, see all the pages in this case are just in Spanish. We have that one that is in English and Spanish already, but not all of them. So let's imagine that we want to change this one, and we want it in English as well. What we do is that we are going to create it.
Oh, so simple. Nice.
Yeah. So what is happening right now is that the system is duplicating this page. So it should go way faster, and it should be done by now. Maybe. Yeah,
No worries. It's the live demo bugs.
It always happens, right? So, oh yeah, I see why. Because I choose a page that doesn't have any content, so it cannot do what it has to do. But let me check if this one. Yeah, that one has some content, even if it's So that one again, we can go to the English version. We have it now. We're seeing it. It's in Spanish because what we've done in the first step is just to duplicate it, but we can translate it.
No way.
And it's done.
That is cool. That is cool. All right.
Yeah, everything's done. So the thing is that you can get into this and you can edit it. Like imagine that you don't like the way it has translated this term for whatever reason. You can go there and edit it. So the first thing and the workflow is actually that you go. You create the page in the language that you naturally are doing it, then you translate it in the way I've shown, and you give normally permission to the people that are translating the pages, so they can just check it, edit, modify the things that they need, and boom, it's done. Which is way different than just have to copy all the content, send it back, all the process that usually happens.
Man, all of this stuff in here would be great to have in any CMS. Really cool, really cool. And I think, I don't know, I have a hunch you don't know how great this is, and that we're hoping that we can spread the word. This is really great for all the folks who made some time to listen in today, or for those of you listening in later on. We've got Daniel Serrano from Griddo. This is a great platform with cutting edge technology and kind of the concierge services for large higher ed organizations. And we're going to follow up, leave a contact, which I think you can already get for Daniel in the LinkedIn channel here. We'll put that on YouTube as well. If you have any questions and you're watching this later, just add some comments and that'll alert us to get back to you. We're going to wrap things up. Daniel, thanks for making time later in your day in Spain. I really appreciate it. It's been really enlightened, and I'm just blessed to be kind of on the receiving end of this demo as well. So really great.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share these with your audience. And well, thank you everyone there.
Awesome. Okay. Have wonderful days out there. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks.